Welcome to my channel, Relating to Bates. For years, Erin Bates and Chad Paine had whispered about a dream, one that always felt too far away to touch. After years of quiet perseverance, faith, and sacrifice, that dream finally took form in the shape of a beautiful $2 million home. But for them, it wasn't about luxury or status. It was about creating a haven, a place where love could breathe freely, where their children could grow surrounded by peace and safety. They had weathered storms before. Finances were tight, health had faltered at times, and responsibilities had pressed hard on their shoulders. Yet, through it all, their faith carried them. They believed that when the time was right, God would open a door. And when He did, they would walk through it, hand in hand. The day they discovered the house, something clicked instantly. It wasn't just the grand porch or the shining white walls. It was the feeling, a quiet whisper in their hearts that said, "This is home." Erin stood in the empty living room, sunlight streaming through the windows, tears gathering as she remembered every late night of prayer, every bill they'd struggled to pay, every promise that someday they would get here. Chad walked through the halls, already imagining family dinners, Christmas mornings, and the laughter of their children echoing down the stairway. To anyone else, it was just a house with a price tag, but for them, it was a testimony, a story of endurance, grace, and love that refused to quit. When they finally signed the papers, Erin's hands trembled, not from fear, but from gratitude. Every storm they had survived had led to this moment. She looked at Chad, and no words were needed. This wasn't just the purchase of a house. It was the closing of one chapter and the beginning of another. A chapter filled with hope, promise, and the kind of miracle that comes softly, like sunlight through an open window. The hidden cost of a blessing. The first few weeks in their new home felt like a dream. Erin woke early every morning to watch the light spill across the kitchen floor. The children ran barefoot through the yard, filling the air with laughter. Chad stood by the window, soaking in the peace they had prayed so long for. But sometimes blessings carry silent challenges within them. As time passed, small cracks appeared, not in the walls, but in their hearts. The house was beautiful, but the responsibility was heavy. Bills piled up faster than expected. Maintenance, taxes, repairs. Chad worked longer hours. Erin smiled through the visits of friends and family, but late at night, when everyone slept, she sat in silence and whispered prayers into the dark. She didn't regret the house, not for a second, but she missed the simplicity they once had, the nights of laughter without worry, the peace that came from needing less. Chad noticed her worry but said nothing. He was carrying the same fear, protecting her from it just as she tried to protect him. The pressure was invisible but constant. Each day, they drifted a little farther from the easy joy that had once defined them. The breaking point. Months passed. The house still looked perfect, but something had changed. Silence began to settle between them, not born from anger, but from exhaustion. Chad's hands trembled from fatigue. He missed dinners and bedtime stories. Erin's heart ached as she watched him burn out. She wanted to reach out, but feared her words might break what little strength he had left. One evening, he came home late to find her at the kitchen table, bills spread out in front of her. "I thought this house would make everything better," he said quietly, rubbing his forehead. "But I feel like it's pulling us apart." Erin looked at him, tears blurring her vision. "We wanted a home, not something that would take away our peace." For the first time in months, they sat together in silence, not trying to hold everything together, but finally admitting they were breaking. That night, Erin prayed not for money, but for guidance. Because she knew now this wasn't about the house anymore. It was about finding their way back to each other. The hardest decision. One morning, Erin sat by the window as the sun rose over their perfect yard. The beauty of it all felt hollow. She realized they had become caretakers of walls and windows instead of the love that had once made those walls feel alive. When Chad joined her, neither spoke for a long time. Then she finally whispered, "We're losing ourselves trying to hold on to something we can't afford, not just with money, but with peace." He didn't argue. He felt the same truth. That day, they walked through every room, remembering the joy that had once filled each space. Erin ran her hands along the walls as if saying goodbye, not in regret, but in gratitude. The house had taught them something they could never have learned anywhere else. Love isn't measured by square footage. Peace isn't bought with money. A few weeks later, they made the hardest decision of their lives. They put the house up for sale. Letting go to find home again. When moving day came, the children were quiet. Erin took one last look around the empty rooms. She said softly, "We came here searching for something, and even though we're leaving, I think we found it." Chad wrapped his arm around her. He said gently, "We found home. It was never this house. It was us." As they drove away, the sunlight broke through the clouds. Erin felt tears roll down her cheeks, not of sadness, but of release. They had lost the house, but regained everything that truly mattered. A smaller home, a bigger life. Months later, life looked simpler. Their new home was smaller, the walls closer, but laughter filled every corner again. Chad played his guitar in the evenings while Erin hummed along. The children's laughter drifted through the open windows. Erin sometimes thought about their old home, the tall ceilings, the long hallways, but instead of sadness, she felt thankfulness. That house had shown them what faith really means. Trusting that God's plan doesn't always look like our own, but it's always right. One evening, sitting under the stars, Chad said softly, "I used to think success meant building something big enough for the world to see. But now I know it's about building something strong enough to last even when no one's watching." Erin smiled through quiet tears. She whispered, "We lost the house, but we found our home." And in that moment, they both understood. The greatest wealth they would ever have wasn't made of walls or floors or roofs. It was the love that survived every storm, the kind that can turn even the smallest space into something sacred. Because sometimes God takes away what you thought you needed just to give you what your heart was truly searching for all along.